Another little different video today. Today, I'm going to pour up a set of Spock ears. Now, I have a set of the original molds because I got hold of the original masters, and so I made molds off of that, which makes these the original molds because they're exactly like the ones, as you can see in the picture here, that I made back in 1978. And that picture shows the ears in my oven at home, where V and I lived together in North Hollywood. And I had a lab there, we had a house, and Fred Phillips would have me run foam at home on the weekends because we were under the gun to get lots of pairs of ears. Now, how these ears got made, and I'll keep it the short story, is when I went to work there, he had a set of ears I guess he got from John Chambers, unused, that were from the original TV show. And he said, can you make these exactly the same? And so I did. I took calipers and I just made them. There was slightly a bit of change because by that time, 10 years later or more, Leonard, our cartilage grows, and so his ears were a little bit different shape. But other than that, they were exactly the same. So here's the ear molds, and as you can see, they're marked right and left just as the originals, and they're exactly the same shape because they're taken from the same master sculpture that I did. Now later on, Charlie Schramm decided he didn't like my ears and resculpted them and made them very short and stubby and fat, and there was a lot of complaints about that. But I remember having a conversation with Charlie. I said, Charlie, you got to make them the same as the ones that Chambers did. And he said, do you really think anybody's going to notice the difference? A pointed ear is a pointed ear. And I said, well, Charlie, you're in the big leagues now because this is Star Trek. And the fans of Star Trek, the people who love it, take it very seriously. And I just didn't want to be a troublemaker, so I didn't go to Gene, I didn't go to Leonard, and I didn't say, hey, he's making the ears differently. So if you watch the film in the beginning, you'll notice that the ears are the same as they were in the TV show. And then about midway in the film, they'll start going between being shorter and fatter to my ears again, to one point in the film on the end, I think, where they're on V'ger, and Leonard turns his head one way, and like this, Captain, and he's got a short stubby ear, and then this way, and there's my ear. The ears were in a big plastic bag, as I recall, when they were all mixed up. And so there were my ears in there. They were running all the ears they could run in there. Plus, there were a lot of background ears made that weren't in two pieces like this. You can see they're in two pieces. And why were they in two pieces? Oh, there's some clay in there. The reason they were done in two pieces, I had done a clay press out of these, was because we didn't use silicone in those days. We're using foam rubber, and the casting of his ear fit in here, and it would break if you tried to take it out in one piece because you got an undercut there. So we did two pieces, a piece for the back and a piece for the front. And this is how the original ear molds were made, similar to this. So, and that's why we have that. Now, what I'm doing is going to take rubber, latex, and pour it right in there. And since there hasn't been any steps taken where I've cast up a master from this, and then that shrinks a bit and you make another one-piece mold to make a replica of the mold, this one will be exactly the same size, even after it shrinks, because foam rubber shrinks, as the original ears. Okay, here I have a cup of rubber. Everybody should have a cup of rubber from my big 5-gallon container. And I'm going to check one more time, make sure there's nothing in there. No, it all looks good. Very nice indeed. And I am going to, of course, remove the seam line on these, but only as well as we could back in those days. If you look at the high definition copies of the original TV show and Star Trek the Motion Picture, you will see, if you freeze frame and look very closely, not even that closely now that we have 4K copies, you can see the seam line. You probably never noticed it because no one ever told you about it, but you can. So I'm going to pour the rubber in here. It isn't hard. It's part of it. And of course, what I have to do is make sure everything's trimmed nice, and I got to paint them, and dry them out and do all those other steps, but the pouring rubber part is fairly easy. Now, I'm using latex rather than silicone because it's just easier to paint, and it's also more authentic because they were made out of latex. Foam latex, nevertheless, but they were. So, and then I'm going to take this and go up into the tip, make sure we don't have any bubbles trapped in up there. We don't. Would help if I put this where it's supposed to go. Okay, that should do it. And that's basically it. And that's going to sit for an hour or two. And what happens is the rubber builds up on the inside very much the same way that slip clay builds up in a plaster mold when you're doing pottery and you pour out the rest of the slip clay and it leaves this nice even thickness. It's the same process because the ammonia that's in this gets absorbed into the porous structure of the ultracal in this case, and makes it get very thick. Now, the thing about it is that when latex is this thick, properly stored, it will last for years. There are people who have foam rubber ears of Leonard's that are still in good condition. So tomorrow we will pull these out. And here's the rubber poured out. As you can see, it makes it a really thick, even coating inside, which makes these very strong and very long lasting. Okay, we are back at the studio. It's a very cold and windy Thursday, and we don't have Mary here today because Mary's home sick. Yes, she's pretty sick girl right now. So, but I'm just fine, and so I'm here again another day by myself. Of course, not entirely because I'm with Rosie. And you see this sweatshirt? Mary got me this. This is really who I am. That's right. I'd rather be flying. Those of you that are pilots who love aviation and airplanes and aerospace in general will understand this sweatshirt. Besides, I need it on right now because it's really cold back here in the bay. We're going to open up those ears I poured yesterday. You remember the Spock ear molds. We're going to open these up and pull them out, and they need to dry tomorrow, and then I'll paint them. So I told you I wasn't alone because Rosie, the Wonder Dog, is here. Rosie, the Wonder Dog? There you are. Okay. Always by my side. And here, well, I need to get this mold over here. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, this is not my garage. This is a shop in a building we've had for 9 years. And upstairs is a model building room. And in here is our our kitchen, our bathroom, the showroom, which, well, actually it's the art gallery mostly for Mary's artwork, not mine, but there's some of mine up there. And some of Mary's down here. In fact, a lot of Mary's down here. Her Halloween artwork that she did. I love this one of the spider. And of course, that day was celebrated this week. A lot of her alcohol inks, all very beautiful. But like I said, there's one of mine up there. And this one, the Iron Giant, which I built over time, and a couple of sculptures down there I did in paper mache. And in here is the unlit room. That is my office. We will plug in a few of these things to show you, Rosie. And over here, we have a replica of Moonwatcher, which actually works. I can wear this and the lips move and everything. And of course, Dan Rector himself, who played Moonwatcher in 2001: A Space Odyssey, wore this also. And he's got a mark on his head, which I don't understand. This is a replica of, pretty much exact, of the Star Child used in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And of course, the space station, which is also an accurate replica I built for a museum in San Francisco, and then got it back because they were done with the exhibit. Then we got the Discovery down here, which is a plastic model kit. And I even have Hal. So, and a lot of other cool things from 2001. Paintings I've done myself. I don't have all the computers on. There's all kinds of cool things here. Submarines that actually work. And probably everybody's favorite, the captain's chair. And this big Enterprise model that I built from scratch. And I made a few kits. In fact, one of them's in New York at the original Star Trek Tours sets with James Cawley. So, and just, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. Everything's lit up. Everything does light up and plugs in. There's all our masks. Are you bored yet? You've got to be bored. You got to be. Because you want to see those ears come out of the mold. Well, here is a casting of those very ears that Nimoy wore in Star Trek The Motion Picture. And right here is one of the original chevrons worn on his uniform that I got. And those have been on the wall for, oh God, for 9 years now, even longer if you count back when they were in Northridge. Things like from the molds of the actual gun, certificate of authenticity, one of the rifles from my favorite Star Trek movie, at least one of the Next Generation favorite Star Trek movies. That was First Contact. This is from the molds for the Kirk puppet used in Star Trek The Motion Picture. A Leonard Nimoy bust I sculpted myself, available on my website, and a whole bunch of other cool things. There's more masks down here. I did this Deadpool mask I love. Nobody bought one. I don't know why. I love Deadpool. You know, Eye of the Beholder. Just stuff. Lots of it. So, now that I bored you to tears with all that, let's go in here. See, this is just like being here, isn't it? Okay, we're going to open up these molds. Now, the first thing I need to do is put some powder in them because latex is like contact cement. It will stick to itself. Here, if I actually aim it at what I'm doing, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a brush here and get it worked down in there. And you can see the shrinkage. It's been windy all night, so these dried out pretty quickly. And we're just going to very easily lift off the back part, and the whole ear came out. And there you go. And boy, are these thick. So that's one of the ears. We'll put this back, and we're going to turn it back over. And these are marked exactly as they were back in the day. Now let's see if I can get this one off without getting the whole ear coming out with it. There we go. And then we'll pull the ear out. And this is exactly when they were released in foam rubber, how they came out of the mold. These came out very well. Of course, they have to be trimmed and Dremel tooled a bit, and then they get painted. And I do see that I have one little bubble there, which I can easily patch. So these came out very well, and that's how we cast up the ears. Now, in the next part of the video, you're going to get to see how they get painted and trimmed and all that stuff.